Hey, y'all. Inflation doesn't knock on your door. It doesn't send you a bill. It just quietly reaches into your pocket every single day. Gas, groceries, rent, insurance, same paycheck, smaller life. And that's not an accident. That's what we're going to call a stealth tax. Today, we're going to talk about who's cashing the check. Politicians often talk about inflation like it's weather. Gosh, it looks like prices just went up again. No, inflation is policy. Full stop. No cap. Inflation is policy. When government spends money it doesn't have, it prints money it didn't earn, and borrows from a future that won't be around to answer for. It won't be around to answer for. Your dollar shrinks. It's pretty simple. It's complex, but it's very, very simple. If there are a lot of dollars out there, that means your dollars, the one you have in your pockets, is worth less. Why? Because it's not as special. Think about it that way. It isn't as special. So we can't buy as much. We often talk about the rising prices, but we never talk about, it's because we're taught not to talk about, is that the monetary policies that have made the dollar buy less. It isn't just that the prices have gone up. It's the dollar doesn't buy as much as it did before, and we don't think about it like that. The dollar shrinks. No votes required. No debate is allowed. No opt out option. And that's why inflation is the perfect tax. Everyone pays it, and nobody voted for it. And let's tell the truth that they avoid. Inflation always has working people the hardest. Not Wall Street, not Washington, not the well connected. But if you live paycheck to paycheck, inflation is actually a pay cut. If you're on a fixed income, inflation is a threat. And if you're trying to save, inflation is theft. Because you know what else is theft? Taxation is theft. It's a wealthy hedge, the connected pivot. You know, the rest of us just pay more and get less. That's not equity. That's actually economic cruelty. You have to, so you have to answer this. So, who benefits? Who's cashing the check? There's more money coming out of my pocket. Where's it going? Well, first, it's the federal government. What? Mm-hmm. Inflation quietly reduces the real value of its debt. What they borrowed yesterday is easier to pay back with weaker dollars today. Second, large institutions, banks, hedge funds, asset holders ride inflation differently than you do because the assets inflate. So I bought this for 12 and due to inflation, now it's worth 35, right? So I've won, right? Hmm. The assets inflate. Of course, the wages lag behind. Now, this used to be 12 and now it's 25. Now, the people who used to be able to buy it at 12 or 13, their wages haven't gone up to buy it at 25. So now, when it was a necessity, now it's a luxury. It's really, it's very complex, but it's very simple at the same time. Third, politicians. They get to spend now, promise everything for later, and then blame inflation on things like corporate greed. Well, it's the corporations that made this 25. They're just pocketing the money. Or Putin or capitalism. Just take your pick. Inflation is the only tax that lets politicians spend crazy and pretend they didn't raise taxes. Magic trick, bad match, but extremely effective. They'll say inflation means the economy is strong. No, a strong economy grows productivity and wages. Inflation just makes the numbers bigger while your life is actually smaller. They'll say we had no choice. Well, you and I know is that there's always a choice. There's always a choice. They just choose to spend, they just choose spending over stability. They always choose politics over people and short term applause over long term damage. Now, inflation isn't economics, but they'll like to put it in that category. Why? Because if they can make it complicated, they can get us to shut up about it. What it actually is control. When families are stressed, they're distracted. When savings disappear, dependence on government or services grows. And when everything feels unstable, some people look to government to rescue them from their problems. And it's the very problems that the government caused in the first place. And that's not accidental either. Stable money equals independent citizens. Do you think that this government wants, these people want independent citizens? Inflation creates anxious voters because we worry about, again, inflation and feeding our family. We worry about recession. We worry about all these things, right? And anxious voters are easier to manage. Well, if you vote for me, we'll get inflation down, right? That kind of thing. Here's what actually works. If you're interested in really fighting inflation, and you can, and the midterms are coming up, and you're going to have people out there on the stump talking about this, and during the Q&As, say stuff like, well, we want to fight inflation. So what we're going to have to do is stop some of this runaway spending. If states can balance budgets, it seems like the federal government could do the same, right? We can, I don't know, produce energy. We were told that we were going to be producing a lot of our own energy. Well, that doesn't seem to have happened nearly fast enough. Now it's coming now. It's only been a year, but it seems to be coming. We can reward work instead of punishing it. We can let the markets do what the markets do. And we can do something that is the hardest thing for DC government and government to do. They can just tell the voters the truth. Just tell me the truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. There's no painless fix. There's no magic button. There's no magic person. There's no, magic wand. Fix it all. It's all going to be painful. But if you do it right, at least it's honest. Because inflation is a tax. It's stealthy, it's political, and it always flows upward. Well, the next time prices jump and Washington goes, happens, right? Remember this, someone's cashing the check, and that someone ain't you.